All right. Let's talk about a show. Let's talk about how it came together.
So I guess viewers, this is episode 1 of Cars and the people who drive them.
Incredible.
We're just going to sit back. We're going to have a discussion about the auto industry as a whole, the automobile as a whole, and how it's changed dynamically through the 70s, 80s, going into the 90s, which I think was the best time for the cars, for the automobile. I think the 90s was, in my humble opinion, the best time. And we'll get to why I think that, because we got some phenomenal cars that came out of the 90s. I mean, just to mention a few, the F40, the McLaren F1. You know, we had some phenomenal vehicles that came out. The 959, the late 90s that came out. And I think that sort of defined the era between supercar and hypercar. Right. And now we've got hypercars that are just absolutely ridiculous when it comes to power outputs, horsepower, and acceleration times. But you've got a time where these cars have evolved to the point that you don't necessarily need to have the skill or the skill level to get into them. They're actually very approachable. And I think that's some of the problems that we have today, is that we're getting people wrapping themselves around poles and they have no idea what they're getting into. So that's one of the things we got to temper that.
On one end, you have Carrera GT with no nannies at all.
Exactly.
They're on the pole for one reason. And I have the other end. They're too good, too powerful.
The other day I got trapped watching something popped up my feed, and I love Jason Kamisha. He's a great guy. It was on Haggerty, and they did this test where they literally, I don't think we can conceptually understand what 1,250 horsepower actually means. I don't know what that means. Like, I can't put that into words. On a drag strip, sure, you can see that. The car's on a sticky surface, it's prepared, you've got a roll cage in it, you've got a professional, a helmet, fire suit, and away you go. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. You don't really understand what that means when you have air conditioning, leather seats, a stereo. I was going to say CD player. That's dating myself. But you don't really conceptualize 1,200 horsepower. And they had, 2 of these vehicles that clearly would get banned from any drag strip out there because they don't have a cage. That you don't need a fire suit to drive them. They got leather interiors, they got air conditioning, they have the whole 9 yards. And yet they're doing a I believe it was 9-second quarter mile. The trap speed was in excess of 155 miles an hour in a quarter mile. Well, how do you not have people that need the skill level but have the bank accounts to buy these cars, but have the skill level to drive one of these things? It's absolutely ridiculous. And it was incredible because they used a Golf R as the virtual gunshot, and it was brilliantly done, and one of the new BMW, I think it was the M2 CS, to show what we think is considerably, a fast car. The Golf R is probably the quickest hatchback on sale in North America right now, versus the M2 at 500 some odd horsepower. And it was crazy because they actually set the Golf 300, a football field, 300 feet behind the Lucid and the Corvette. And they sat there, and the Golf took off with everything it had, launch control all the way up to, 4.1. I think it snapped off 4.1 note to 60, and away it was gone. And when it crossed the 2 cars that were sitting there, that's when they took off. So now you've got 330 odd horsepower, 300 feet away, going through these 2 cars, and that's when they take off. And then you really realize the power differential and the actual, let's be honest, technology's got to the point where I believe the first half of a quarter mile, you're really not doing anything with the power. I think it's got nothing to do with the power. I think what it is at that point is managing the traction and trying to get there. And you get something like the Lucid that's got, 3 motors in there. They can actually monitor the traction I think it's a 1/10 of a second. Right. Absolutely incredible. And to watch how technology has come from when I first came up and started driving in the 80s and 90s to what it is today, my God. But that being said, though, David, I think a lot of the modern cars, with the amount of electronic, I'm not going to call it nannies because I think they're absolutely definitely something you need because these cars are lethal. But I think with all the electronic interventions, like electronic power steering, it takes away some of that analog feeling that we all lusted after. We got into our 1990 Supra, we got into our 240SX, and we got into, God bless you if you had a Skyline. Those cars gave you something to drive. I mean, the Mazda Miata was the car that set the world on fire because it wasn't fast, it wasn't quick, but they took what Colin Chapman made in the Lotus way back when, and even the MGs, they put it in a little bottle and they released it in every single Mazda Miata. And that was the flavor you got out of driving a car. You didn't have to be driving at, 10 tenths or at a million miles an hour, but the fact that you're low, top was off, had a little stick in your hand, 3 pedals, and away you went, perfectly balanced car. I think we're missing that today. I really believe that we've gone too far. Like I look at, it's not even the power metrics. I think we've just gone to craziness. It's. Let me put it in perspective for you, David. 1981, a German company comes out and they say we're going to revolutionize by accident, and a lot of stuff that happens with cars is literally by accident. Right. They were doing some winter testing and they figured out that having traction in all 4 wheels for off-road conditions would be beneficial in an off-road vehicle. And here we are surrounded by vehicles that are using this type of technology every day for what they do. The ironic thing is the hardest thing these cars will ever encounter would probably be a curb at the mall, but we'll table that for a second. So they came up to the FIA authorities, this was way back in 1981, and they went through the rule book and they said, just before everybody left, we've got a car, we're thinking of putting 4-wheel drive in it, would you guys have any objection to it? And this is way back when Group B was just getting its legs, Group B and Group 4. And the reason I'm going to bring you back to that is bear with me for a second. The FIA sat back and thought, it's too heavy, it's too cumbersome, it's too clumbering. Yeah, whatever, go ahead, knock yourself out, put your 4-wheel drive in whatever it is you're going to put out. And that gave birth to the Audi Quattro. Now, if we look at the Audi Quattro and the iterations of the A1 and A2 Audi Quattro, that specific horsepower output is exactly what I have in my Golf R today. So I'm theoretically driving a car that was powerful enough to be a Group B rally car back then. And if I didn't have the electronic stability controls and the aids that I have today, I guarantee you I would have killed myself. Because think about those guys at full shot going through the mountain passes in the woods with people this close to the car. That spawned the Audi Quattro S1, which probably had in excess of 500 horsepower. Gave birth to one of the greatest hatchbacks of all time. I think when you think hatchback, I believe that everybody will look at the Volkswagen Golf as being the car that would took that mantle in 1975 with the GTI. But there was a car before that, and the French had it. It was the Peugeot 104 ZS. That was basically the quintessential hot hatchback, but it was a car before its time, and nobody knew what the hell to do with it, so they scrapped it. But Volkswagen took the mantle in 1974, 75, I believe it was, that Volkswagen came out, and they came out with the GTI. And Peugeot took back that mantle with the GTI 1.9, the GTI 1.6, and that spawned the rally car, the 205 T16, which is an absolute animal. Again, 450 plus 500 brake horsepower. Lancia, probably, one of the things, and I think we'll get into marques and brands that have died over the years or fizzled out, and we can't understand why. And Lancia is one of those brands, because if you think about their pedigree, their racing history, and the successes that that car has, and today, where are they? It's a name brand, exactly. And that's the thing, like there's a lot of technology out there, there's a lot of things that were invented that we don't really know where they went and what happened to them. So Lancia had the, I believe it was a Delta S4, which was the only, back then, and I think even to this point today, twin-charged motor that was out there. They had a supercharged for low-end torques to give you the grunt to get out of the corners, and they had a turbo way up that spun up to, I think it was 9,000 or 10,000 RPM. and you're having that rev range and having that power. I mean, these things could accelerate on dirt in roughly around 3 to 4 seconds. They were absolute weapons. And of course, they banned them because at the end of it in 1986, there's a couple of drivers that died because of the fact they didn't have all these electronic controls. And the cars are just way too fast, and you get brain fade. So sorry, I've hijacked this, and we were just having a conversation. I apologize.
I like it. I like it. You're a wealth of knowledge, and you know a lot of more stuff than I do, so it's perfect.
Well, hopefully this knowledge goes out to our viewership, and they understand what we want to do and what we want to create. We want to get back to a culture of the car and people that drive them. And the reason I say that is we have a lot of stuff that happens in our world today. Kids, school, daycare, soccer, badminton, whatever it is that you're playing out there, hockey, we get busy. The automobile, to a lot of people, represents an escape. It represents some place that they get to go and they get to leave and come back, or they get to momentarily hit pause and do what they have to do. And a lot of our clients, especially at this level, will have a Land Rover or Range Rover that they use on a daily basis, but they've got a toy for the summer, be it a 911, a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, because again, that represents that escape. And I think we want to get back there.
So you have all the cars that have so much soul in the 80s and the 90s, even the 2000s. Today in 2026, it seems like that soul is slowly fading. It's harder to make a car that evokes that feeling in you. Of course, you still have the Golf R. Of course, you still have the Porsche. But every day, I think,
David, you're absolutely right, because today you're driving a Pentium processor with wheels. You know, we just went over the fact that when you look at traction and the traction advantage, the first 30% or 40% of a quarter mile is the computer figuring out how much slip angle to give those tires so you can put, you know, in excess of 900 or whatever gazillion amount of horsepower you want to put down on the ground. They didn't have that back in the day. I mean, I remember my first Fast and Furious movie where they were talking about a 2JZ being your 10-second car. 10 seconds was where you had to be, and it had to be 10 seconds. There was your traction control. Right. There was your stability control, and here was hanging on to dear God. But you don't need that today because, you know, I think the engineers and the brands and the manufacturers have gone so far that I think they have to have those stability systems. I think they have to have that electronic control. And yeah, you're absolutely right. You're losing a lot of soul in those cars. And I think the only way they can inject some of that excitement back into the cars is by having that thrill of speed, by having that turn of velocity where you, in your mind, sit back and go, wow, I'm really going fast. Now, I think I'm of the old school, and I am old, but I'm of the old school where I believe you need to have the training. You need to have, you know, the driving courses to teach people to use these weapons because they're really, at the end of the day, they're really, really fast cars. And they're going. If they're misused, you get somebody somewhere is going to die. And we have very famous people that have met their, I mean, Paul Walker, phenomenal. I mean, we can't blame the Carrera, can we? Can't blame the car. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, sure, if there was somebody that went through the car that was a driving course, would say, look, this vehicle's got a 5.7 liter lump in the back or in the middle. It's got made it to a 5-speed transmission or 6-speed transmission with 3 pedals. You have to make sure everything, your wits are about you to drive this car. I remember the first time I got into a Dodge Viper RT back in the day. Yes, I'm old. And David, that car was a tractor. It was essentially a tractor. It was a 8-liter lump that was pulled out of something that probably plowed a field somewhere, and they put it into this car. The transmission, first of all, the clutch felt like you needed to have thighs of Arnold Schwarzenegger to depress. The transmission lever, I can only liken it to trying to change the railway tracks at a Victoria station. Like it was incredible to move this thing around in gears. Yeah. And unless the car was perfectly straight and your steering wheel was perfectly straight, if you breathe on that throttle, you're probably going to swap ends. And I remember getting out of that car, and I drove it for maybe 5 or 6 minutes. And I don't have the skill level that some of the people that we're going to have on the show later are going to have. But I remember getting on this car going, my goodness me, what an animal. I mean, cars like this should not be available to the public. And how many Dodge Viper RTs ended up in ditches, across into fairways and lakes and through trees because, again, nobody taught them how to drive this car. I like the Porsche philosophy where, you buy a Porsche and they give you access to some of the most incredible instructors. And I don't know if you've been up to the Porsche Experience Center. Are you going to be there this weekend? Yeah. Well, I'm going to be there this weekend because we're doing Cars and Coffee.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Well, I'm going there for that.
Okay, we're going to be up there. We're actually doing one of the stands. We're all KN up there, and they've taken that track. They've taken some of the best corners of all the racetracks in the world, replicated them there, and to see the engineers work at its best, like to see what they put into these cars and you actually witness it, oh my God.
Proper instructors, some amazing.
Yeah, well, I had Bill, Bill was out there and he took me out and we were in I believe it was a GT3. I've hit brick walls that have been less effective than the brakes on that car. Like you hit the brakes and my internal organs started to hurt. They literally started to hurt. My eyes were being pulled out of the sockets. And this is a car that you could buy, well, theoretically buy on Tuesday. Yeah, right. It's incredible.
Yeah. No, that's a great philosophy, and a lot of brands have started doing that. I've been on the day with Toyota. Volkswagen is very good with that. I think Mazda is doing that with the Miata. That's insane. Absolutely right.
Mazda actually has that?
Yeah, with the Miatas. Yeah. So it's absolutely the right way to have the enthusiasts that are passionate about it.
I think you have to. And getting back to what we said about Cars and Coffee, I think there's a lost, I'm not going to call it a genre, but there's a lost group of people that are looking to be in some kind of car culture. Because the automobile, there are people that view it as an appliance.
Yeah, too many of us.
A lot of people view it as an appliance. I don't. I think the car has brought us a long way. Every single vehicle that we have that I think of is not a car that's an appliance. It's a car that has memories attached to it. It's a vehicle that took our children from the hospital and brought them home, took them to school, so everything about the car, like everything is designed, especially in North America, drive-throughs. Yeah. Although I can never quite understand the Braille keypad on a drive-through ATM machine. I can never quite understand that one, but that's I'll table that one, David.
It's a standard issue.
Yeah, you can answer that question, but the first time I walked up there, I thought, whoa, Stevie Wonder, are you driving today? But yeah, everything about North America has been designed around the automobile. And I think with our transit, Toronto is a perfect example. If I need to get from Scarborough or from Pickering to Mississauga or to Oakville, there is no way without a car I can do it efficiently on public transit. And there's public transit systems in the world that are out there. I mean, Japan's got a phenomenal with the Shinkansen. Even I've just got back from Southeast Asia and in Bangkok, they have a phenomenal system out there too. Vietnam, I was surprised, has a really good system too. Of course, the car is still central to it. Well, not so much the car. I think it's more of a motorcycle slash. I've never actually seen a motorcycle used in so many ways. They use it better than a pickup truck out there. It's incredible. They actually have a trailer that they attach to the motorcycle and they put everything on it. Like, it's incredible, man.
Easy to fix, cheap.
You could fix it with a hammer and away you go, man. It's cheap to run. So I think that's the primary mode of transport. They call them tuk-tuks and motorcycles. But again, it's powered by an engine, wheels, and it's basically off the automobile. And I think that's where you realize how important the car is. And I got to tell you, in Bangkok, their tuk-tuk game is on point, man. Like some of these cars some of these tuk-tuks, are incredible. They got light shows, speakers. It's like back in the day in the 90s when we used to cruise Yonge Street in our convertible, T-top Supras. And I had a stereo system, you had a stereo system, we all had one. And it was all playing nothing the same. You couldn't hear a thing. But we were cruising up and down Yonge Street. I loved it. And that was the culture that's missing.
Yeah. So the car culture, the clubs, the events, the cars and coffees, to me it seems the more and more we go in a virtual world, the more and more physical world becomes important. While we're stuck in our daily life in a virtual, those points of connections is very important.
I think with the car clubs though, I still believe, and I don't quite know if it's the cost that's prohibitive or what it is, but I find them unapproachable. I find them, like you look at the car club and you think, if I've got a Mach 1 Golf or a Corrado, or if I have a Ford Mustang, like a Fox body Mustang, would I be accepted in this club? Would I be okay in this club? Or is this club only for people that have Lambos, Ferraris, M2 CSs or M5 CSs? I'm wondering if that's the culture that the club, and I think that people need to encourage the users that are not so affluent to come in, because they have something to offer too. They have a passion, they have a wantingness and a willingness to be in that car culture, in that automotive environment. They're not buying the car because it's another it's another timepiece or another watch that they have in the closet. They're buying that car and they're putting their heart and soul into it because it's their car. It's something that they've, for whatever reason it is, that they put it. We've done a couple of cars and coffee events so far, and we've done at Downsview Airport. We did one at Unionville Volkswagen, and we met at the Unionville Volkswagen one. We met a phenomenal bunch of people that were just genuine salt of the earth. I hate to call them, we'll call them car guys and car gals. They had, shoehorned VR6s into a Mach 1 Golf. Like, that's incredible. Shoehorned a 2-liter 16-valve unit into a Volkswagen Beetle. Like, they've done stuff that we just never would have thought of, right? Air ride suspension on a Corrado. Like, and these guys have put upwards of, who knows, tens of thousands of dollars into these cars. But you can see it's their love into that. Now, somebody like that walking into a car club where the price of admission is, I don't know, call it $800-900 a month. That's a lot of money. Like $800-900, he's thinking, in 2-3 months, what extra can I buy for my car? What can I put into my car? So I think the cars and coffee events brings a lot of that culture back. We approached Porsche a while ago to try and do one of the Porsche Experience Center, and they were nice enough to do that. And my buddy actually went out and purchased a vehicle that was significant enough to be asked to come into Porsche. He got an older Cayenne, and he's actually taken this Porsche Cayenne and he wants to convert that to a physical coffee machine. How we do that and how he does that, I have no idea, but more to come on that. David, you're going to be part of it.
It's more fun than putting it into an ID Buzz or something. Yeah, no, and definitely some part that could be virtual as well, but then it's not the same. I feel you need that car connection. You need to be in front of cars. You need
Define what you mean by virtual.
Well, there's different iterations of it. There's a potential of a car club chats to be virtual, or there are communities that are fully virtual that maybe go on drives here and there, but their community lives on a Facebook forum or in a WhatsApp group, and they just talk cars. It's the forums of the past, right? But it's more streamlined into a car community.
But in situations like that, do you actually have the connection?
Well, that's the whole point, right? It's not the same.
Yeah. I don't. Again, David, I'm old. So I came from an era where we didn't have electricity in Africa to now walking around with a computer in my pocket.
It's more powerful than a Polo or something.
So when I look at connections. We would be outside with our friends playing street soccer or street hockey till our mums came out and threw shoes at us to get in. The street lights were on. The rules are when the street light comes on, you're supposed to be in the house. And dinner was all of us sitting at a table eating dinner. It was not, in front of a device or in front of a screen, or it was us, sitting down and having dinner. How was your day? What did you do? What happened, right? And I think when you think about something being virtual, it probably at some point in time, when you think virtual, it takes that away.
Anyway, I'm gonna hit you with this one. Are the cars the horses of the future? If you think about how we went from a horse and buggy type of society with the roads and infrastructure was in place for those types of going around, of those types of transportation. We moved into a car culture where we build these grand highways and roads and whatnot, where horses are not welcome. You can't have a horse on a highway, you have fast-moving cars. Anyway, fast forward 20, 30 years from now, you have a different iteration, which involves, flying cars, self-driving cars, some kind of that, where the current cars won't fit anymore. You can't put a bunch of self-driving cars and a human in the same highway, because a human will be a liability in that case. It won't connect to all the other systems. So are the cars, in some way or form, the horses of the future?
You realize sitting here, a Coventry North JLR Land Rover with this brand, that's exactly the conversation that Morris Wilks had way back in the 50s. Did you know that? So he physically loved his Jeep, but it kept breaking down. Right. And he wanted to design a vehicle that could potentially not replace the horse when we first started, but augment the horse. So what he did was he designed the Land Rover with a power takeoff on it. We could plow a field, and it had the suspension and the ground clearance to do whatever. And they priced it in such a manner that the farmers actually could get a field plowed twice as fast as they could with a horse. So the Land Rover now, unbeknownst to what it was doing, overtook the function of the horse. And absolutely now that's what happened with the car. And the car the car replaced the horse. To your point, as we move forward, the argument was, should everything go to EV? And I was actually one of the ones that couldn't quite understand the whole philosophy, because we don't have an infrastructure for electric vehicles. So if we all went to EV right now, I don't know if we'd be able to plug in our toasters at home, but that's probably a solution. I don't think it's the solution. I think it's a solution. And going down the road, to your point, when you have everything that's self-driving, Christ, I get on the 400 series highways and I literally use the dynamic cruise control with the lane assist and whatever's on my Golf, because I'm going to take a phone call from work. I've got a client calling, I've got something happening. So you're distracted and you're not 100% focused on what you're doing. So is the car better at doing what it's going to do? Absolutely. Is it going to take over? I don't think they would ever eliminate the fact that you need some type of human intervention. But if they did that, with AI, you never know. But if they did that, then yes, the car would definitely be replaced, because it's more efficient. Having a computer and the algorithms take care of it, it's obviously from a safety standpoint, way safer, but it's going to take away so much from here. And that's what will kill me.
Well, at the same time, horses are still around. There's a lot of passionate people that have their stables and they do their own events and they go to their own horse tracks, whatever they're called. It's a big community, especially here in Canada. We have Kleinborg and King City, and there's lots of horses there. So they didn't go away. They diminished. So
I think they diminished to the point they're probably not a mainstay, Dave.
Yeah.
Cars is a mainstay right now.
Right. Well, it's like same with cars. There's a big group of people, of drivers, that just use it purely for point A to B, and they don't care what's taking them there, whether it's a full EV, self-driving, whether it's a regular car. At the same time, there's a big group of huge enthusiasts that are like car specific. They want 3 pedals, they want engaging drive, soul in that. And there's a bunch of people in between. So it was the same thing. The people who are super passionate, got their own stables, have their own horses, love them, care of them, make friends with them, whatever. There's a bunch of people that really don't care, and there's people that are like kind of interested in that. So,
David, I think if that happens, we're going to lose a lot of very iconic brands that we have today. And that will be a shame, because then you are now demoting the car, demoting what we have around us, to basically an appliance. You know, I've often said, when I was with Toyota, my time with Toyota was a phenomenal brand, great brand out there. I don't think they lost their way. I believe the people that were voting with their dollars changed the way Toyota did business.
right.
And by that I mean, if I said the word Celica, you think of, you know, the ST185, the ST165, the ST205, which got banned from rallying, by the way, incidentally. But you think of those cars because it was a great rally magnet. They did fantastic, and they all-wheel drive. You think of the Mr. 2, I call it the Mr. 2, the MR2, phenomenal car out there, right? You know, if I say the word Supra, you go, wow, that's, you know, the Godzilla Hunter. Exactly, it's a Godzilla Hunter. And because people are not buying those cars. They were buying RAV4s and Corollas and commuter cars, that Toyota decided that's where they're going to put their eggs in that basket. Now, Toyota has the bank account and the wherewithal to do that. And to be honest with you, they're actually the mobility structure in the Middle East, Africa, Southeast Asia, a lot of Asian countries. Like Toyota is it. Like that's all you see. And they have them from trucks to cars to mini cars to whatever. They have everything. Everything is encapsulated in that one brand. The reason I bring that up is there was one brand that we almost lost a while ago, and it's a very, very iconic brand. It's something that people revere to. It's like probably the only one, in my opinion, that when we look at the used car market, completely. I don't even understand how the algorithms just do not affect Porsche.
Right.
And that's the brand that we almost lost. If it wasn't for the Cayenne, I think Porsche would have died, because all they made was the 911, which is a great car, but who's buying them? How many people are buying them? So now we move forward to this era that we're in right now, and all the manufacturers decided to put all their eggs into the EV basket.
Except for Toyota, actually, you should mention.
Exactly, except for Toyota. Toyota was the last one to jump on the bandwagon because they realized the piston-driven engine and the automobile still has its place. It still will be there for a while. I mean, look, let's examine the EV for a second.
Right.
I've got to go in and destroy the planet to go get all these rare minerals and put them on a diesel ship them to China, make my battery, or out to Asia, make my battery, put it back on a ship, and ship it back here so I can put it into a car. How effective is that?
Yeah.
So your carbon footprint at day one, and nobody realizes it, but your carbon footprint at day one in your Tesla or iPace or whatever it is up there. My carbon footprint in one of these things is down here. So in other words, I'd have to drive one of these things for 10 years before they actually intersect. But I guess the feel good is that, you know, I'm not destroying the environment as I'm driving the vehicle, but what have I done to get this car?
Well, I always say you're saying you're saving the planet, you're saving the air, but what you're doing is you're saving the air of where you are right now, but all the places that we're producing that, you're offsetting it. You're just moving into those countries.
You're just delaying the process, or rather you move to, yeah, exactly. You're getting all those other countries, you know, hurt with what you're doing. I mean, so here we are with the EV. Everybody's put their eggs into the EV basket. Porsche's got a serious problem right now because they spun the entire methodology. I think the Macan, they came out with an electric Macan. I believe they wanted to do that with a Cayenne as well. They killed the Boxster, or sorry,
They're considering.
I think that's a mistake. You know, the 911 has gone into this hybrid / piston power, which is great. I mean, it's good, but hopefully they'll still keep that component. But take that brand for a second. They're the only ones that have actually invested a tremendous amount of money and research and development into alternative fuels and synthesizing petrol to keep their own brand on the road. Because how many people you know of, that I know of, that we all know of, that have classic Porsches sitting in the garage? You know, something out of the 70s, something out of the 80s, some G, you know, one of the G-body cars out of the 80s. I mean, Singer, and that's what spawned off all these resto mod companies, because people like us will not let go of that dream. We want that dream. So you get your old 964, you ship it out to SoCal, and you know, Rob Dixon takes a chunk of money off you and gives you this homage that the 911 engineers have basically prostrated themselves in front of the gods to say this is what we built. And it's a phenomenal car. But again, it's a piston-driven car. There's nothing electric about it. I don't think you can you can get a stereo in it, but I don't think Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is on the #1 boxes that take off. But that's what the car enthusiast still likes. And I think getting back to where we are on things like Cars and Coffee, and getting people engaged and getting people together is important, because that culture is still alive. It's still there. Don't kill it. Get out there and you know, what's the old saying? Don't crush them, restore them, right? You want to keep that culture alive. You know, your T-shirt's fantastic. Save the manuals. That's probably the best theft deterrent in Toronto today. Thief opens up a car, it's got 3 pedals. What the hell am I supposed to do with this, right?
Yeah, leave my car open. I don't care.
Well, with us, I grew up in Africa. We had to have 3 pedals. It's funny, my son asked me the other day, he says, what about the driving test back then? I said, well, I don't know if they still have it, but they used to have a matchstick test, which was absolutely crazy back then. But again, it's Kenya, and Kenya was a British colony, so probably came down from the Brits. I don't know. But the matchstick test basically consisted of the instructor getting out of the car. You pulled up to a stop on a hill, pulled up the handbrakes, put the car in gear, got out of the car. He took a matchstick and put it under your rear tire.
Right.
You had to then get into the car, start it up with your handbrake up, move the car forward, and if you roll back and broke the stick, you failed the test.
Wow, that's strict.
That was what it was back then. I mean, obviously, and that's what I'm trying to say, is that they had the people to teach you, and they had the want and need for somebody to actually go out there and learn how to do this, because they had to do it. Now you can get into a 1,250 horsepower Corvette and that does a sub 9 second note to a quarter mile, does a sub 9 second, 2 seconds to 60. And what training do you need for that? You just need a bank account that will be able to go and do this, right? Which is why I'm saying, if you have that car culture and you bring those people in the fold, they will sit back and they will become those enthusiasts that will want to go and become junior racers, club racers, that will have the innate ability to say, you know what, I'll take you out for a couple of laps. Let me teach you how to drive this car. Let me get you out there. And we've got Mosport, which is a phenomenal track. They got the driver development track out there. Phenomenal piece of kit out there. Great corners, great setup. I think it's very hard on consumables though, because it's really short. The GP track I absolutely love. I revere and I respect it. It's actually a track that I don't go up to and say, I'm going to hop in a car and drive. I think I take some time to psych myself up, because it is, I believe, the fastest track in North America. So, respect to the people that can get around that track in decent times. I mean, I've tried my level best. I wouldn't say I can hold my own, but I have a good time there. I think there's a lot more that I will learn from people that are half my age and way better than I am. And I'm happy with that. I'm happy to learn from them. And I think that's the key, is that we have to be willing to learn, because we are getting into machinery and getting into equipment that is very dangerous. That's very dangerous for us. I mean, there's instances in my little 330 horsepower Golf R that I've got into trouble on the 400 series highway. I think to myself, thank God I've had some training, and thank God I've had some backing to say this is what you do in an understeer situation, oversteer situation. Like, these are things that could happen to any one of us. And when you multiply that by having over 1,000 horsepower, or even 600 horsepower in some of these cars. That's a lot of power. I mean, they were talking about the, I believe it's the Audi S5, the new wagon. Well over 500 horsepower in a wagon. I can go to the grocery store, Home Depot, and have the babies in the back in a 500 horsepower wagon. That's insane.
Well, RS6 is what, like 650, and the M5 Touring is close to 700 with 2 motors.
I think that's just a number we need to say we have. Because if we ever use it, somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's going to get hurt.
Well, that's where the traction control comes in. It reminds me of the time I was in the F-Type 75. It's like 575 horsepower, I think it is. And I was driving it, and I was like, where's that power? I don't feel it. It feels like 300 max. I don't feel it. And I realized that power comes in with the traction control off. Because when you have it on, it's nowhere close to it. It's very subtle, and it's great. You have 2 completely different characters.
You have a Jekyll and a Hyde.
Yeah. And you turn it off, and you're like, oh, okay, that's where it is.
Great car, the Jaguar F-Type. Jaguar has gone down a path that I'm not quite sure what the future holds for them, but it's a shame. Again, you know what? Why don't we do that? Why don't we go back and talk about the brands that we've lost?
Right.
And we talked about Lancia having a tremendous technology. The first car, it was twin charged, supercharged and turbocharged out there. They built the first purpose-built rally car in 1971, I believe.
And a bunch of tricks.
Was it 71 or 7? I think it was in the 60s. They went out and Bertone was commissioned to come up with the body, and they went up to Ferrari, knocked on the door, and said, "Guys, the Dino, what are you guys doing with that?" And Enzo was, "Well, it's my son's project. It's going to be his." And they said, "We've got a lot of leftover engines. Do you mind if we borrow some?" So they took the V6 out of the Dino, shoehorned it into the Lancia Strada sideways, and it was an absolute annihilator. It came out, and that was the car to beat. And unfortunately, with the politics that Lancia had, the parent company at that time, I think, was Fiat, was like, "Oh, wait a second. We can't have this thing running the roost when I've got my Super Mirafiori back then." The Abarth came out, and they had great drivers like Attilio Bedeca and Walter Roll driving them back then. So Fiat took the mantle from there. But Lancia had to come back, and they came back with the Delta S4. Actually, no, they came back with the 037, which was probably the last rear-wheel drive car to win a World Rally Championship title in the midst of four-wheel drive. And they actually beat Audi in the own game. That's an interesting, very interesting story, how they beat Audi in the own game. It was incredible. But they beat them in 1983, and that was the last rear-wheel drive car, driven car in Group B to win a rally championship, the 037. And at that time, I think the writing was on the wall. Everybody knew that rear-wheel drive just can't do it anymore. Audi had paved the way with the Quattro, and of course the 205 T16 came out. Lancia had the Delta S4. Ford had the incredible RS200, which unfortunately never had the time to put some successes in, but I think that car would have been an absolute weapon out there. Toyota actually had an MR2 that they were working on for Group 4 that they were out there. And I think that would have been a very exciting time had they had today's technology in the 80s. Because they had the power and they had a blank checkbook, just build what you got to build. But today we've got the brakes, we've got the suspension, we've got the steering that can control all these things and put them in there.
Computers.
Exactly. Pentium processors, right? Pentium processors. It's funny, I think we had, I watched an episode of Top Gear where Jeremy gets a Mitsubishi Evo 10, I think it was, Evo 9.
One of the last ones.
One of the last ones. It was a 3-pedal, so it wasn't the 10. I think the 10 was a 2-pedal. This is a 3-pedal. And he put it up against an Audi Quattro full chat on the Top Gear test track. And it was incredible to watch the difference between the two cars, where the Audi was, tuned up to 500 and change, where the Evo was, 3 and change, and the Evo was quicker because it had the Pentium processors to manage the traction in each corner. Like where were we braking? You got 3 separate differentials. You can do front to back and left to right, and you can also manage the power diagonally from right to left. It was incredible. So that is technology in a nutshell, and how it's moved the goalposts and moved the yards to where they are. And the cars today are phenomenal. But we still need, if we're going to keep building these cars, we need to have people that are going to teach others to use them, or teach them how to use them safely.
When it comes to mind, I'm thinking of us having responsibility with our kids as well.
100%.
It all comes because I'm thinking about all the Gen Z, the 15, 16-year-olds right now that completely don't care about cars. They just like Uber, point A, point B, don't even want to drive.
My daughter turned 16. I asked the question, and the answer I got was, why do I need to do that?
I have Uber.
I basically get my phone, I punch the number in there, the guy comes, picks me up, takes me to where I gotta go, and when I'm ready to leave, I call him back.
And they don't even drink, they don't even need Uber.
And we're sitting there going, hold on a second. Our parents told us not to get into cars with strangers. Now we're calling the strangers getting in with them.
So yeah, the responsibility is for our kids to bring them to Cars and Coffee, to show them, demonstrating from our own passion.
And we'll to talk about things that we lost, brands that we lost and why we lost them. What they had. I don't think if the kids would actually care, but my son doesn't know the difference between a 2-pedal or 3-pedal car. To him, he didn't understand. When I was going through the gearbox in a car once, he asked me, well, what is this for? And I said, well, it's to drive the car. And he says, that makes no sense. Why don't you just put it in D? And I said, what do you mean? And he says, well, the Prindle. That's what they call it, the Prindle. It's park for there and reverse to go backwards. And I don't know what the end is for, but you just put it in D. That's the new generation, man. New generation. So talking about technology, we talked about Lancia. Did we touch upon an individual that was so far beyond his years and has completely died? We don't even think about it. But they invented some of the most incredible technology that we're probably surrounded by right now. I believe it was, I could be wrong, but it's Citroën. Hydro-pneumatic suspension. We have that in all our cars today. All our Land Rovers work on that suspension. But back then, yeah, the DS Special. Back then, it was a thing. And I think the DS actually had hydraulic brakes. Obviously, was in there, but it was one of the first cars. I mean, today we take it for granted, but in the '60s, the steering wheel had one arm that went into the center of the car. Okay. But did you realize that arm in the steering wheel was actually controlling the center lights? So as you turn the steering wheel, the lights turned with the steering wheel. Andre Citroën, back then he had that, right? And we look at cars like that, Peugeot with the 205 and just tremendous cars. The 504, the 404 was known as the Lion of Africa because it just would not break, they wouldn't die. And today, where's Peugeot? What do they have? Nothing. Citroën, nothing. Lancia's gone. And if Porsche's not careful, putting their eggs into, we're going to lose them too. And it'll be a shame because they have so much to offer the world. I mean, every one of us had a poster of a 911 somewhere in your bed, above your bed. And I think the 80s and the 90s were probably the golden era of the automobile. We had some phenomenal cars back then. I mean, who would think that 100 horsepower was 100 horsepower per liter was the benchmark of normally aspirated? Today, it's just a number we throw out there because we put strap hair dryers to all these cars, and away we go. We got all kinds of power when we put boost in them, right? But Paul Roche in 1972, his mandate when he created the M division of BMW was the car had to have 100 horsepower per liter or close to it. I think it was his benchmark was 90 horsepower per liter. Otherwise, we're not doing this. And I think every one of these cars were very, very close to that. A tremendous engine. The M1, what a car! Not the 1M, the M1. That was an incredible story. And BMW weathered the storm. They had a lot of, I guess, when they had Land Rover, the X5 owes its existence to the Land Rover. That split tailgate comes right out of the Range Rover. Yep. And that was back then when they owned it. I think Ford took the terrain response management system the Land Rover had was actually very, very good. And BMW took some of those bits and pieces. The hill descent control, I think they put into their cars back then. And Ford, when Ford had them for a brief period of time, now has the go over any terrain, the GOAT mode, which is basically a terrain response from the Land Rovers back then. And again, it's just, guys sitting in the shed trying to figure out how to get the best out of the best. And now you've got computers that can do these algorithms, but do people know how to use them? Do people understand what they're using, how to use them? And that's where I think the car culture has to come back. I think you're on the right path, where we have cars and coffees, we have events where we have these car people come out and just enjoy the automobile for what it was, what it has become, and where it will go.
Right. That's good.
Is it?
So I think the theme of today is not just having the tools and the cars that have the soul and character, but to know how to use them, to have those systems in place, have those events in place that will allow you to learn them.
I think the only time you really will get a following is if you appreciate the car and appreciate what it's done for us. And that only comes from having a healthy car culture, from people that honestly feel the car has brought them to where they are. And it's those old cars, man. That's where resto mods have become such a big thing. That I think there's companies doing. I think Lancia has got a company that does the 037.
Yeah, they have. There's a Delta Integrale company as well.
The Delta Integrale company. There's a couple of them that come out. Porsche's got Singer. They've got another one. I think Gunter Works is coming out as well. And Magnus Walker, way back when, Porschephile wanted to do that. And he thought, hold on a second. Why would I change the DNA that Porsche's already built? And you just appreciate the Porsche for what it was. I mean, these companies are taking. I like what they're doing, don't get me wrong, but they're taking an idea and they're changing it. They're changing the DNA. So, hop into a Singer or hop into a Gunter Works, it is probably nothing of what a 911 was back then. It's got the silhouette, it's got the shape, it evokes that passion, but it's just a phenomenal car. Same thing with the, I forget what they call it. It starts with a K. The 037, the 037. I'm pretty sure it doesn't perform, behave, or is anything like the old Lancia 037. But it's today's interpretation of what that car was. Why does it exist? Why do they do it? Because the old cars invoked that passion that they had to be recreated. I mean, think about it. Look at the movies we watch today. Have we watched anything that has been mind-blowing in the last, 5, 6, 7 years?
Well, Christopher Nolan stuff, Tenet, his stuff with, that's the closest you get. But that's.
They're still airing Jaws today. And that movie won an Oscar for the bloody music score. We didn't even see the stupid shark. But it won because it was so scary because of the music. And they were airing that today. Movies like Braveheart, movies like Gladiator. And they're just repeating them because that was where stuff happened. I think we've lost that emotion. We've lost that drive to be different, that drive to make something different. I think it's gone. And it could be for the fact that everybody's living in a virtual world, that creativity is being eroded. You may be onto something. I didn't think about that until you said it. But I think you're right, that some of the creativity that we have today is being lost in these virtual worlds. Right. And now we strap on AI. Man, we got there's zero creativity.
Zero thinking. You don't even have to think. Put it in the car, and that's it. You don't have to drive.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, David. I think that's a bad thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. They serve a good purpose when they're used properly, but when we rely 24/7 on them, that becomes a problem.
I think we need to have more venues like Mall Sport. I believe they have one up in Barrie that's opening up soon, Oro Station. Yeah. I mean, that's going to be great. We needed the guy, the magic that Richard Hamster, Captain Slow, and Jezza had back then. Top Gear became a following. It wasn't about the car, it was about the lifestyle around the car. I think we need more of that. They did a couple of spin-offs with the Grand Tour. You got phenomenal guys like Throttle House right now. James and Thomas do a great job with that love of the automobile and what it does for people. You've got Jason Camisa that does phenomenal things with, I think it's Haggerty, and Henry Catchpole as well. They do some of the, and I think having more individuals like that and having that mainstream media pushed out will give or rekindle the flame for people that love cars. Because at the end of the day, I don't believe the automobile is going anywhere anytime soon. Yes, you may think that the horse was replaced, but it took a while.
Yeah, well, look, we already pushed back on the EV. The real world kicked in. They wanted to introduce it by 2030, 2035, completely ban it. Doesn't look like it's happening. Yeah, so there's already real world pushback.
There's an argument for the EV in the sense that when you're driving an electric vehicle, your maintenance costs are tremendously reduced. I mean, there's no oil to change, there's no spark plugs, there's no, the old days you had to lubricate the chassis, that's all gone, right? But the heart is not there. Like I don't know, I've not driven an EV that I can honestly say, wow, that's a great car. I mean, okay, I'm sure Matt Riemann's got a fantastic car, but how many of us are going to be able to afford to drive one of those, right? I think the only car that I honestly drove and I thought maybe was the Taycan. Porsche did a phenomenal deal with the Taycan, and of course the sibling, which was the e-tron GT. E-tron GT. Those are the first. I mean, I've driven a bunch of Teslas. I've driven this. I've driven the I-Pace, the Teslas. They're quick. They're nice, and you got that instant torque all the time, every time. You never have heat soak, weather conditions, air, humidity. None of that affects the car. But give me a nice Apple laptop and away I go. Put some wheels on it. I don't know. That's my opinion.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that we've covered a good chunk of that today. We kept it on theme more or less. A couple rapid fire questions.
Sure.
Let's do a couple. Let's do quick ones. All right. Is there a car that you'd be embarrassed to be seen in?
Yes. Nissan Micra. Can't do it. Just can't do it. Sorry. Can't do it.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I don't know.
Well, what would yours be?
It's hard to tell. I don't know. I've driven a bunch. I've been in a Mercedes Sprinter and I didn't care about it.
Hey man, that's moved a lot of my parts. The Mercedes Sprinter is phenomenal. Yeah. My parts van.
I don't know. I don't know. That's the thing about it. There's so much in every car. Like every car has its soul. More or less of it. It's quirky. It's more traditional. But there's
the Nissan Micra doesn't have any of that.
I don't know. Well, they have a Micra Cup though.
Yeah. How did that work out? What did it last? A year? Not even.
Because the cars were on three wheels the whole time.
Yeah. There you go. So that's it. Done. Next.
I don't think there was one for me. I don't know. What do you think is the most overrated car?
Most overrated car? Ooh,
Yeah.
That's a good one.
The one that everyone just brags about is to sing to it, but it's overrated.
That's a really hard one. That's a
Do you have an underrated one?
Sorry?
Do you have an underrated one?
I think one of the most underrated cars is probably the one I drive every day. I mean, nobody really sits at and looks at it and goes, it was funny. I actually went to a client of mine, a great client of mine, bought several of these products off me and he uses them in the wintertime. In the summertime, he's got 19 Ferraris, 4 or 5 Porsches, he's got a couple of Lambos too. And I rock up and he sees me and he goes, hey, is that the new Golf R? And I thought, yeah. He goes, can I wheel it? I'm gonna go, sure. So I walk into into his man cave, and I'm surrounded by he had a 512 TR, he had a Testarossa, he has a 512 TR and a Testarossa. He's got a 1971 Dino, absolutely immaculate Dino. 488 Speciale. He's got a 360. He had a 355, which is probably the car that changed the face of Ferrari. 355. He's got a 328, a 308. God, he's got. I'm off the top of my head. I can't even remember all the cars he has. Obviously, he's got an SF90. He's got the 296 as well. He's got them all, and he's out there wheeling my Golf, and I'm walking around going, Jesus Christ. So I poured myself a scotch because I'm gonna sit down, wait for him. We're gonna have a cigar together and have a chat. And he comes back and he says, "I want one of these." And I said, "I'm sorry, I'm confused." He goes, "To be honest with you, Dirk, look around you. Pick any one of these cars. Could I go to Home Depot in any one of these cars? Could I park at the mall in any one of these cars? Could I go out to dinner, unless it's a fancy restaurant? Could I go out to dinner, just park anywhere and walk in the way? No, I can't, because I'm really worried about them. I'm concerned about it. Your car gives me almost as much fun as these things on a daily basis. Drop the seats, go to Home Depot, pick up the kids, drop them to soccer, do whatever I need to. This car's fantastic. And it's sub 100 grand. I'm like, yeah, it's way less than 100 grand. He goes, done. Here's my credit card. Go find me one. And that was it. It was absolutely incredible to sit down and listen to it. I think that's a really underrated car. It's a great car. I wish that Audi had I think it's the S3. It doesn't come out here it only comes out as a limousine here, as a sedan. It doesn't come out as a hatch. As a hatch, I think it would be phenomenal as a hatch. You know what? I love hatchbacks, and I think hatchbacks going into stretching them to station wagons is just a phenomenal place to be. I mean, SUVs are nice. They're great cars. Don't get me wrong. The SUVs are great, but they're really big, and they're heavy, and they're tall, and they don't really handle very well. I mean, now you've got this new breed of SUVs. I don't even know if we can call them SUVs. The Range Rover SV. You got the Land Rover Octa, which is an absolute beast. The Range Rover SV. You've got the BMW X5 M. Lamborghini Urus, Bentley, it's just these cars. They're incredible, but again, they're really heavy, and they're very fast, and the laws of physics still apply when you got to brake and turn. And if nobody tells them or shows them how to do this, somebody's going to die. At least in the smaller cars, you get that sensation of speed. You know how fast you're going. So I'm gonna go with the Volkswagen. Certainly in North America, the Volkswagen Golf GTI and R are probably one of the most underrated cars out there.
Well, then, for me, a very underrated one would be really anything coming from Genesis. I think they're extremely underrated.
That's a good brand. It's really coming out, but
well, what they've done is they've got the best engineers, the best people out of all the German brands, and they've created their own version of it. And now,
good point. I forgot about.
I was shopping for my wife's SUV, and we looked at, we like Germans, so we look Audi, Mercedes, BMW, but these new ones, there's something missing with them, and that is taken care of by Genesis. Genesis still feels like a proper 2017, 2018 quality German brand.
Really? I actually, I confess, I've not driven a Genesis.
No, they're incredible, and the new ones, the facelift's a little weird with the interior. They went on the bandwagon of the dual screen with like a little bezel, which I don't really like. But the material quality, the price point, the value is great. Although depreciation is very steep.
Well, I think at the end of the day, you're still handcuffed with the fact that Hyundai is the parent company, right? And I don't think anybody, as much as they want to look at it as Genesis being a luxury brand, and it probably is. It's probably a great car, great technology. It's kind of like the same thing that Honda went through with Acura. It's just they never viewed it that way. Lexus was built, ironically, as a U.S. only.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, luxury export to the U.S.
There you go. That's exactly what the word luxury export U.S. for U.S. like those Lexus, right? So that created a brand for itself, and then it trickled back to some of Japan, but it was still, at the end of the day, a Toyota, right? And I don't know if the LFA should have worn the Lexus badge. I think the LFA should have worn the Toyota badge.
Well, they might be bringing it back.
Well, they're going to bring it back now. They're going to, but with GR, like the GR, the sub-brand of GR is doing wonderful things for Toyota. Absolutely fantastic. I'm not so sure I like the hardtop BMW, but they're doing some great things with Toyota. I think the Corolla is a phenomenal car. Yaris we don't get here, but Yaris in Europe is I've driven one. I drove one in the UK. What an absolute missile. It's a fantastic little car. The Yaris, GR Yaris. And of course, I bought the GR Corolla here. Disappointing because
It's just bigger. It loses that.
specific output, 300 horsepower to 3 cylinders, phenomenal engineering. But then you price it in some very, very dangerous waters. I mean, you're up there with the Golf R. You're up there with the Civic Type R, which is I drove the FL5 Civic Type R. What a machine. And I have to I don't know what the Honda engineers have done, but it has to be, I don't know if they actually took that gear lever, the actual lever and the knob, and weighed it and scientifically balanced it, because it has to be the most incredible shifting mechanism I've ever driven on any car. It is just, oh my God. So when you look at that and you think, okay, we're going to price that GR Corolla at that point, that's a hard bar. It's a really, really tall bar to hit. And as much as I like the brand Toyota, and I think, you know, my heart will always, I had several Supras, I had a couple of Celicas as well. I had a Celica All-Track. I love the brand, I really do. But that's a really lofty place to be. I think if they knocked it down about, you know, $5,000 or $6,000 and brought it into a price point where it wasn't in the direct fire of these cars, I think it would do very well. Because now when we look at it, we look at that price point, we think to ourselves, for that money, for a couple of $1,000s more, I could get this, or a couple of thousand, I could get that, which is way more car. Yeah, so that's a hard one, man. It's a really hard one.
Overrated, I just thought about what came to mind was, weirdly enough, the S-Class. The modern S-Class.
The S-Class, the Mercedes-Benz S-Class.
It's iconic.
Do you know that back in the day, like we're talking in my years, you were not even a thought back then, the S-Class was the vehicle you looked at if you wanted to know what the next 10 years would have in their cars. First people to come out with a credit card to lock the car, S-Class.
The Top Gear episode, yeah.
Remember when they did the start button on the gear lever itself? Push to start on the gear lever, they did that. Night vision, you know, driving at night to see what was going on, the Mercedes-Benz is. So yeah, the S-Class is, I think will always be the staple. It's hard now because technology has grown to such a point that how much more can you cram into one of these cars? Like look, David, any one of these cars, if I open up the driver's side door in any one of these cars, no less than 19 sensors have to be woken up.
Sure.
You know, you're looking at height sensors, what's around the car, seat positioning sensors, mirrors, like all this stuff has to go off. There's a lot of times we have clients that call us when they park their car at Park and Fly at the airport, gone for a week and come back and the battery's completely dead. Because now we have decided as a human, as a buying public, that we're not going to stick a key into a door. We're not going to stick a key into to start a car. So all this technology runs on radio waves. So anybody walking past one of these cars with a smart key, the car's going, is it the one? Is it the one? They're waiting to make that handshake. They're waiting to make the handshake, and they've got to wake the entire car up to do this, and then everything's going to go back to sleep again. And somebody else walks by and they go wake the whole car up again. So every time you got to do this, and you know we've got these new voltage systems where we're demanding. Everybody's got a 48 volt mild hybrid system out there. Depending on the manufacturer, they use it for different purposes. Like Porsche uses it for the anti-sway bars for your left and right to make sure you keep your pressure as well. We use it to actually electronically boost the turbocharger.
Yeah, I think Volvo does that as well, I think.
Sorry?
I think Volvo does that as well.
Yeah,
I think Volvo does that. The Chinese probably, yeah, Geely's probably got that technology in there too. But so we look at that, it's 48 volts. Well, Think about that for a second. Your car starts on a 12-volt battery. Your alternator gets you to maybe around just under 14 volts. Now you have to step that up to 48 volts. That's a tremendous amount of spiking there. So to get it there would not be a problem ordinarily, but what we found out recently with this cold snap and this really bad winter we've had is that you've got your heated steering wheel on, you got your heated seats on, you got your heated inside the car on, you got your defroster on, you got a heated windshield on. These 5 things right off the bat are drawing power. So your 12-volt battery kick into the alternator that's supposed to bump this thing up to make all these things work, and now take that power and take it to 48 volts so you can spool up your turbo, spool up the turbocharger. Just ain't happening. So the technology we got in all these cars is getting up there. I don't know how much more we can cram into them, man. That's a lot of stuff. Yeah. The auto start-stop system in every vehicle that we have right now, I mean, that was not created as a fuel-saving device. It was created to decrease your carbon footprint. If you have 15 cars stopped at a traffic light and all of them are running, if I cut 5 of them off, your carbon footprint shrinks because you're not having that. But think about that. Your climate control system is on. So your climate control system has to talk to the electrical system, has to talk to the fuel system, has to talk to figure out which pistons at top dead center, which was the last one that fired. Your gearbox is involved. Are you in drive? Like the number of conversations that have to happen just for that car to be turned off and then turned back on again. It's absolutely a lot. I literally, sorry, but I turn it off. Because I think it's just a tremendous load on the car and something somewhere is going to give out.
Not to mention the engine. Every time you start your engine, it's like a defibrillator to your heart. And every time a start-stop system kicks in, that's what happens.
Well, now we're running all these cars with turbochargers. Your turbo's still spooling. You come off the highway. So remember back in the day when we had turbo timers? The reason we had them was the minute you turn the car off, you've now severed the cooling supply to the turbo and the oil. So that bearing was still running, was still spinning at 20,000 RPM, cooking that oil onto the bearing. Now we've got auto start-stop. Like that's, you got to think about these things, right? And I think that automotive manufacturers today are not building cars that are going to last. I think, again, going back to the era of the 80s and 90s, they're not building cars that are going to last. They're building cars that are going to perform for a short period, and it's disposable, and away we go. Bringing that car culture back is going to teach people to appreciate the car, maintain it better so it'll last longer so you can enjoy it for longer.
Not just for the warranty period.
Yeah, exactly. It'll last for the warranty period and then get rid of it, get another one, and put it, and then next up.
It's not sustainable.
I don't know, there's going to be a lot of landfills with a lot of cars in them.
Yeah. All right, well, I think today we've covered a lot of things, a lot of fun topics, a lot of...
David, one question for you. Money, no object. What car's going in your garage?
I'm always a big fan of Mercedes McLaren SLR. That was always the car for me. The collaboration between 2 amazing brands that we haven't seen probably in so many. I don't think we're ever gonna see it. Iconic shape, beautiful interior is dated, but I think McLaren is now having a program that refreshes it a little bit in factory. Yeah, that's the thing they do, even some on the exterior bits as well, but that's just a timeless car. I love it. Butterfly doors. How about you?
I think I'd have to definitely be with Gordon Murray. McLaren F1.
Oh, F1.
The F1. McLaren F1, the 3-seater.
Well, it's a 3-seater as well, 250.
Is the new one the 3-seater too?
Yeah. It's almost the same, just newer.
That was an era where BMW had the V10.
Yeah.
The V12s, I think, back then. Mm-hmm. And they just built a phenomenal car. I mean, who would have thought to use gold leaf as a heat dissipator? I mean, that is your commitment to that is just commitment to engineering at its finest, man. Gordon Murray, he knew it. I had 3 pedals. I love that car. Absolutely love that car. I don't think you could get a decent one today for, I don't know, less than $15, $20 million. Yeah.
That's always going to be a safe bet. They're never going to make a car like that anymore, and however much you paid for it, it's always going to appreciate.
See, all these cars are going. All these cars are dying. These icons that we looked at, they're going. And I think we need to We need to get a culture back in. We need to get a following that's going to save some of that love for those cars.
We can try.
We can try. We're going to try one view at a time.
One view at a time. We'll do our part. All right, Dirk. I think it's good for us.
Buddy, I think we did a phenomenal job, man. Thank you. That was great, man. I think we did.